In this video, we will learn how to install Cordova library and start creating PhoneGap projects. First of all, let's take a look at PhoneGap website, phonegap.com. This is the home page. Of course, it advertises different products of PhoneGap, PhoneGap Enterprise, PhoneGap Developer App, and the PhoneGap Build Cloud Service. It also shows one of its best and most popular application that was developed using PhoneGap. So for us to get started, we will go to Developer, Get Started. So before developing any platform, we need to install something called Command Line Interface. It's the interface that we will use to interact with Cordova Library. So to install CLI, of course, there is a very detailed installation steps for Mac users and also for Windows users. The first thing that we need to install is a library called node.js. We are interested in the npm command line that will enable us to install the Cordova library. So clicking on install will download the DMG file of node.js. For the sake of time, I already downloaded the package here. We'll go through the installation wizard. Agree. Installation type. The purpose of node.js is to enable web applications to act like a server without the need to actually install a server software like Apache or IIS. It's very easy to use, and it downloads by default. And for Mac users, it downloads by default in user local folder, which means that you usually don't have to add the execution path to your environment variable path. We will talk about that when once the library is installed. So this is important information that you have to make sure that user local bin is in your path variable. It will, of course, show different message to Windows users. The point is that we need to have this folder in the path variable because we need to execute npm command line from anywhere. So let's open our command line. So to see or to check if you have the path there, you can execute this command. So we can see that user local bin is already part of the paths, the global path. So this means that we can execute npm from anywhere. Okay, so to make sure that npm is installed, we can simply write npm version just to check that we can actually, So here it shows us the version of the Node.js that has been installed. Next step, okay, close. Next step is to install Git client. You might have this installed already. If not, you need to install it because it will help us copy Cordova source code from Cordova repository on Git hub server. So you can download it here, download for Mac. I already downloaded that already, so okay, I need to change my security settings. Open anyway. Also, Git normally installed in user local path. So once you install git client, you should also be able to use the git command from anywhere. We as developers will not interact with git directly. Actually, Cordova library will use git. That's why we are installing it. All right, so git. Okay, so this means that we are done with the first two steps. Okay, so the third step is to install Cordova module using npm utility from the node.js library. So using this command will install the latest Cordova library, but because we are targeting Android API 19, so we will install Cordova. So the current version of Cordova is 4.3. We will install 4.1 to target Android API 19. So we can specify the version here by adding at 4.1.0. This means that it started installing the Cordova library. Okay. So also Cordova by default installs in user local. So we know that we have user local bin already in our path. So this means that we can immediately work in Cordova. So you can see here that Cordova is installed. So from here, we are ready to interact with Cordova and start creating our PhoneGap projects. So since we are targeting Android, PhoneGap projects that work in Android, let's go back to the platform guide. So of course, the Android SDK should be installed. Cordova for Android requires the Android SDK to be installed. That's number one. Number two, you have to ensure that you have the these paths in your execution path. The SDK platform tools and the SDK tools. These tools should be added to your execution path. And in the website, there are the steps how to add these two paths to your execution variable. All right, so also, of course, the Java home should be part of your execution path as well. Okay, so so now we are ready to create our first Android PhoneGap Android project. We will follow the steps on this page. It's very straightforward and very simple. We will use the very same examples. So Cordova create, hello, this is the name of the folder, this is the name of the package, and this is the name of the project. So we will copy this command as is. Because I already have this folder in my I already created such folder, so let's change it to maybe demo, PhoneGap demo. That's the project. And for the package, we will call it edu.uncc dot phone gap demo, and the project name phone gap demo. So this means that the project is created. Next step is to enter the folder and to add the platform that we want to work on. So and then Cordova platform, add Android. So this means that the type of the project that will be created in that path will be an Android project. It will have an Android project structure. And we can see here that it targets Android 19. That's because of the version of the installed Cordova. Okay, so after that, our project is ready to be imported to Eclipse and start working in it. But before that, I like to build the Cordova to make sure that the structure of the project is intact. So we will build the current project. So we can see here that the Android project has been built and an APK file has been generated. So we import the project. We can import it from Eclipse. File, import existing Android code into Workspace. Here it is, phone gap demo. Open. By default, it will import two projects: the our project, the client, and the server that contains the Cordova source code. Finish. You will see this exclamation mark. It's okay. It will go after a while. So let's take a look at our project here. So in the source folder, we will have only one Java file that contains an activity or Cordova activity, and has very few lines of code. It just launches a startup URL that is part of your web application, and the URL of the starting page will be configured, which is by default the index page in your www folder. So your application, your web-based application should be placed here in this folder. By default, there's three folders: JavaScript, image, and CSS, and the index.html will be your starting HTML page. This project, if we open the properties, we can see that it's linked with the Cordova library here. The Cordova by default contains the implementation of the Cordova library. So when we start working on this, customizing this project, we will see how this library will change according to the settings that we will change here. So let's run this project and see what does a phone gap application look like. Run as Android application. So we will see now that by default, phone gap application, it doesn't do anything important. It will just show an index page. That is the default code that Cordova provides for clients. All right, so this is the index page. This is the default index page by Cordova. But when you see this, this means that your Cordova project is configured properly as an Android project that you can. So from this point, you can add your HTML, JavaScript, CSS files